This is a story sent to me by a viewer named Stephen Caldwell, and when I finished reading his account, I had to sit back and acknowledge something most people don't want to hear. Sometimes the person sleeping next to you is systematically destroying your life, and they're doing it with a smile and a stack of documents you can't read. Stephen wasn't a lonely retiree who fell for the first pretty face in a Pattaya bar. He was a 66-year-old widower, a former marine equipment sales manager from Tampa, Florida, who'd spent 43 years in an industry built on contracts, specifications, and verifiable details. He came to Thailand for quiet retirement, not romance. He met his wife Anne through a professional networking event, not a dating app. She spoke perfect English, had a finance background, and presented herself as independent and modern. For 2 years, she systematically transferred over $180,000 out of his accounts using forged signatures and falsified documents. And when Stephen finally discovered what she'd done, he didn't yell, didn't threaten, didn't confront her emotionally. He did something far more effective. He documented everything, consulted a criminal attorney, and let the legal system handle what emotion couldn't fix. What happened next wasn't revenge, it was procedure, and it ended with his wife in a Thai prison, not because Stephen wanted her there, but because the evidence left no other conclusion. If you've been enjoying the stories I tell, please consider hitting the subscribe button. Your support is crucial for the growth of this channel and helps me dedicate time to making these videos despite my commitment to a full-time job. Thank you for being here. My name is Stephen Caldwell, and I need to tell you about the moment I learned that trust without verification isn't trust, it's negligence. My wife Margaret died on February 3rd, 2019, after 18 months fighting pancreatic cancer. We'd been married for 37 years. No children. We'd tried for years before accepting it wasn't going to happen, and by then we'd built a life that felt complete without them. Margaret taught high school English. I sold marine equipment to commercial fishing operations and recreational boat dealers up and down Florida's Gulf Coast. We had a house in Tampa with a view of the bay, a boat we took out on weekends, and a retirement plan that involved exactly what we were already doing, just with more time for it. Cancer doesn't care about your plans. By the time they found it, it had already spread. 18 months of treatments, surgeries, hope, and slow decline. Margaret faced it with the same dry humor she'd brought to everything else in our marriage. 2 weeks before she died, morphine clouded but still present, she'd squeezed my hand and said, "Don't you dare spend the next 20 years sitting in that house talking to my ghost. Promise me you'll actually live." I promised. After she died, I kept that promise the only way I knew how, by leaving. The house felt like a museum of our life together, every room full of memories I couldn't escape. Our friends meant well, but their sympathy was suffocating. Everyone wanted to help, to check on me, to make sure I was okay. I appreciated it, but I couldn't breathe. I sold the house in September 2019 for $610,000. After paying off the remaining mortgage and closing costs, I cleared about $540,000. Combined with my retirement savings, about $290,000 in various accounts, and my Social Security payments of around $2,600 monthly, I had enough to live comfortably for the rest of my life if I was sensible about it. The question was, where to live it? I'd traveled through Southeast Asia briefly in my 20s during a stint in the Navy. I remembered Thailand as hot, chaotic, and beautiful. A colleague from my industry who'd retired there sent me photos, occasionally beaches, temples, his condo with a view of the ocean. His cost of living was about a third of what it would be in Florida. In November 2019, I flew to Bangkok to explore the possibility. I spent 3 months traveling through Thailand, approaching retirement location, scouting the way I'd approached everything in my career methodically with checklists and research. I visited Chiang Mai, Hua Hin, Pattaya, and spent extended time in Bangkok. I researched visa requirements, healthcare options, cost of living, expat communities. Bangkok surprised me. I'd expected to prefer the quieter beach towns, but the city had an infrastructure and energy that felt manageable. Good hospitals, reliable public transportation, international grocery stores when you needed them, but also local markets, temples, and neighborhoods where you could disappear into normal Thai life. I settled in the Lat Phrao area, north of the city center, a neighborhood popular with middle-class Thai families and a handful of long-term expats. Not touristy, not seedy, Just regular Bangkok life. I found a 2-bedroom condo in a well-maintained building for 14,000 baht monthly, about $420. The building had 24-hour security, a pool, a fitness room, and was walking distance from the MRT station. I furnished it simply bed, desk, couch, kitchen essentials from Index Living Mall. I set up my computers and established my routines. Morning walks to a local cafe for coffee and Thai language practice with the owner. Afternoons reading or exploring different neighborhoods. Evenings cooking simple meals or eating at local restaurants where dinner cost 80 to 120 baht. My monthly budget settled at around 55,000 baht, about $1,650. That included rent, food, utilities, transportation, health insurance, and entertainment. I was living comfortably on less than 2/3 of my Social Security payment, meaning my retirement savings could sit untouched, continuing to generate modest returns. I didn't come to Thailand chasing anything. I came to stop running from Margaret's ghost and build a quiet life that didn't hurt to live. I met Anne on March 12, 2020, at a networking event organized by the American Chamber of Commerce in Thailand. A contact from my marine equipment days, a man named Robert who now consulted for shipping companies operating in Southeast Asia, had invited me. "You should come," he'd said over coffee the week before. "Good way to meet other expats who aren't just here drinking beer and chasing girls. Professional people, business owners, retirees with actual substance." The event was held at a hotel conference room in Ceylon, about 40 people milling around with name tags and business cards, making the kind of polite conversation people make when they're supposed to be networking but aren't sure why. I was standing near the coffee service, trying to decide if attending had been a mistake, when a Thai woman in business attire approached with a genuine smile. "You look like you're planning your escape route," she said in perfect English, accent barely detectable. I laughed. "Is it that obvious?" "Only to someone else who's doing the same thing. I'm Kanyarat Boonsri, but everyone calls me Anne. I work in finance, corporate accounting for a shipping logistics company. Stephen Caldwell, retired marine equipment sales, currently professional retiree." We shook hands. Her grip was firm, professional. "Marine equipment? So you might actually know some of the people here. This is mostly shipping and logistics, folks." I knew that world, yes. Different end of it, but the industry's small enough. We ended up talking for the next hour, first about shipping and marine industries, then about Thailand. She'd grown up in Pathum Thani, just north of Bangkok, studied finance at Thammasat University, and had worked for various companies over the past 15 years. She spoke about Thai bureaucracy with the weary expertise of someone who dealt with it daily, about the challenges of being a Thai professional in industries dominated by foreign companies, about Bangkok's transformation over the past decade. "Most expats I meet either idealize Thailand or complain about it constantly," she said. "You seem to actually see it clearly, the good and the complicated." I'm too old to idealize anywhere. Every place has trade-offs. Thailand's trade-offs work better for me than Florida's did. That's refreshingly honest. When the event ended, she gave me her business card. "If you ever need help navigating Thai financial systems or bureaucracy, feel free to reach out. I've spent my career translating between Thai and Western business practices." I tucked the card in my wallet, not expecting to use it. I did reach out 3 weeks later, when I was trying to establish a Thai bank account that could handle international transfers more efficiently. The bank paperwork was dense, partially in Thai, and the staff's English was limited enough that I wasn't confident I was answering questions correctly. I called Anne. "I know this is probably beneath your expertise level, but any chance you could help me navigate bank account setup? I'm happy to pay you for your time." "Don't be silly. I'm happy to help." "Which bank?" She met me at the bank branch the next afternoon, spent 90 minutes helping me fill out forms, explaining the difference between account types, translating nuances the bank staff couldn't articulate in English. She refused payment. "Consider it expat solidarity," she said. "Thailand can be overwhelming. We help each other." 2 weeks later, she called me. "Stephen, I need advice from someone who understands marine equipment. My company is considering a contract with a boat repair facility, and I'm trying to evaluate their equipment lists. Would you be willing to look at some specifications?" I met her at a cafe near her office. She bought me coffee and showed me the documents' equipment manifests for a marine repair facility in Laem Chabang. I spent 45 minutes explaining what the equipment actually did, what fair market prices would be, what to watch for in maintenance contracts. "You just saved my company from overpaying by at least 30%, she said, making notes. "Thank you. Happy to help." Over the next 2 months, we fell into a pattern of occasional mutual assistance. She'd help me navigate Thai bureaucracy, tax questions, visa paperwork, utility setup. I'd offer professional expertise when she needed Western business perspective or marine industry knowledge. The exchanges felt balanced, professional, built on mutual respect rather than romantic interest. But somewhere in those practical interactions, I started noticing other things. The way she listened carefully when I talked, actually processing what I said rather than waiting for her turn to speak. Her dry sense of humor about Thai workplace politics. The fact that she was 42, unmarried, and seemed genuinely unconcerned about the social pressure Thai women faced about marriage. "My family has given up on me," she'd said once, laughing. "My mother thinks I'm too independent, too Western." She's probably right. That doesn't sound like a flaw to me. It's not, but it narrows your options when Thai men want someone more traditional and Western men want someone more exotic than I actually am. I understood that being too something for one culture and not enough something for another. We were both people who didn't quite fit standard categories. 3 months after we met, I asked her to dinner. Not at a street stall or casual cafe, but at a proper restaurant. She understood what I was asking. "I'd like that," she said. "But I need to be clear about something first. I'm not looking for someone to take care of me financially. I have a good job, my own savings, my own apartment. If we're going to see each other as more than friends, it needs to be because we actually enjoy each other's company, not because either of us needs something." "That's exactly what I want too." "Good. Then, yes, dinner sounds nice." We dated for 13 months before getting married. Looking back, it seems fast, but at 66, I wasn't interested in years-long courtships. Life doesn't guarantee you that kind of time. Anne was different from Margaret in almost every way. Margaret had been soft-spoken, literary, content with routine. Anne was direct, analytical, constantly learning new skills and pursuing professional development. But the core compatibility was there. We both valued honesty, independence, and building rather than pretending. She introduced me to her family parents in their 70s who ran a small grocery shop in Pathum Thani, a younger brother who worked in IT. They were polite but cautious, probably wondering what this 66-year-old American wanted with their daughter. Anne translated their questions and concerns, honestly. "They want to know if you're serious, or if this is a temporary thing for you. They've seen too many foreign men treat Thai women as disposable. Tell them I'm serious. Tell them I was married for 37 years to my first wife, and I understand what commitment means." Whatever she told them seemed to satisfy them. Her father shook my hand. Her mother made sure I left with containers of homemade food. We talked extensively about practical matters before marriage. Anne was clear that she wanted to keep working. Her career mattered to her. I was supportive of that. We discussed finances openly. I explained my retirement savings, my monthly income, my intention to maintain the conservative budget I'd established. She showed me her salary statements, her savings account, her car payment. "I think we should keep our finances mostly separate," she said. "You maintain your retirement accounts. I maintain my income and savings. We split household expenses proportionally based on our incomes. That way, there's no confusion about what belongs to whom." That seems sensible. "And if we buy property together or make major investments, we document everything clearly. I've seen too many marriages end badly over money confusion." Her practical approach to financial matters felt mature, responsible. After Margaret died, I'd handled all the estate paperwork myself, experienced firsthand how complicated finances could get when one person died and the other had to unravel joint accounts and shared assets. Anne's suggestion to maintain clear separation seemed wise. We married in a simple ceremony in August 2021 at a district office in Bangkok, followed by a small dinner with her family and a handful of friends. No elaborate wedding, no expensive ceremony, just legal documentation and commitment. I was happy. More than happy, I was grateful. I'd found companionship again when I'd assumed that part of my life was over. The first year of marriage was good. Anne continued working at her logistics company. I continued my quiet retirement routine. We lived in my condo. Her apartment was smaller and less convenient, and she contributed to household expenses as we'd agreed. We fell into comfortable domestic patterns. She'd wake early for work, I'd make coffee and breakfast. Evenings, we'd cook together or explore new restaurants. Weekends, we'd take trips to nearby provinces Ayutthaya, Kanchanaburi, Hua Hin. Normal married life. Anne handled most interactions with Thai bureaucracy, which made sense given her language skills and professional background. When my retirement visa needed renewal, she gathered the required documents, helped fill out forms, accompanied me to immigration. When I wanted to open a Thai investment account to diversify my holdings, she helped research options and translate the complex financial terminology. "You're very trusting," she said once as we were organizing financial documents. "Most foreigners I know are paranoid about their Thai wives handling paperwork. Most foreigners probably married women they met in bars after knowing them for 2 weeks. We dated for over a year, and you work in finance. You understand these systems better than I ever will. Still, you should at least understand what you're signing. That's why you explain it to me before I sign." She always did explain. Clear, detailed explanations of every document, every form, every bureaucratic requirement. I trusted the process because it seemed transparent. That trust was a mistake. The first anomaly appeared in March 2022, about 7 months into our marriage. I was reviewing my retirement account statements, something I did quarterly out of habit from my working years, when I noticed a withdrawal I didn't remember authorizing. $50,000 had been transferred to a Thai bank account in January. The transaction notation read, "International Investment Transfer Approved." I remembered discussing Thai investment options with Anne around that time. We talked about putting some money into higher-yield Thai government bonds, which offered better returns than U.S. bonds but required a Thai bank account to purchase. But I didn't remember authorizing a $50,000 transfer. I asked Anne about it that evening. "Oh, that. Yes, remember we discussed diversifying some of your retirement holdings into Thai bonds? The window for that particular bond offering was closing, so I helped expedite the paperwork. I thought I mentioned it, but maybe I forgot. Sorry, work was crazy that week. $50,000 seems like a lot to transfer without discussing it more thoroughly. The minimum investment for that bond tier was $40,000. I rounded up to $50,000 to maximize the return rate, but if you're uncomfortable with it, we can reverse the transfer. It just means losing the preferential rate." She pulled up her laptop and showed me the bond documentation official-looking forms from what appeared to be a Thai government financial website, all in Thai with English translations. The returns did look better than what my U.S. accounts were generating. "No, that's fine. I just like to be in the loop on major transfers." "Of course. I should have confirmed with you first. Won't happen again." It seemed reasonable. A communication oversight. Nothing more. The second anomaly came in May. My accountant in Florida, who still handled my U.S. tax filings, sent me an email asking about a loan application that had appeared on my credit report. "Stephen, was this you? Seems odd to be taking out a loan given your cash position." I had no idea what he was talking about. I called him. "What loan application?" "Looks like a personal loan application filed in March through an online lender. $40,000. It shows as denied insufficient collateral, but it's on your credit report as an inquiry." I felt ice in my stomach. I never applied for any loan. "Identity theft, maybe? You should freeze your credit and file a fraud report." I told him I'd handle it, then immediately checked my credit reports. There it was, a loan inquiry from an online lending company I'd never heard of. The application had been denied, so no actual loan existed, but someone had definitely tried to use my information. I showed Anne that evening. "This is terrible," she said, examining my laptop screen. "Do you think your information was compromised?" "I don't know how. I'm very careful with my data. It happens, though, especially to foreigners in Thailand. Scammers target expat accounts. You should report it immediately." She helped me file a fraud report with the credit bureaus, set up credit freezes, and change passwords on my financial accounts. She was supportive, concerned, appropriately worried, but something nagged at me. The timing, the amount $40,000, similar to the $50,000 that had been transferred to Thai bonds. The fact that the loan application had been denied suggested whoever filed it didn't have sufficient information to complete the process successfully. I didn't voice these concerns to Anne. They felt paranoid, disloyal. She'd done nothing but help me handle the situation. but I started paying more attention. The third incident happened in July, and this time I was watching. I received an email notification from my U.S. bank about a large wire transfer request that had been flagged for additional verification. Someone had attempted to initiate a $75,000 wire transfer to a Thai bank account. The bank's fraud detection system had blocked it pending my direct confirmation. I hadn't initiated any transfer. I called the bank immediately. The fraud department explained that the transfer request had come through my online banking portal using my login credentials, but from an IP address in Bangkok they didn't recognize. Because the amount exceeded my normal transfer patterns, their system had flagged it. We need you to confirm whether this was you or fraudulent activity. It's fraudulent. I did not authorize this transfer. Can you tell me the account number the funds were being sent to? They read off a Thai bank account number. I wrote it down. That's not my account. I don't recognize that number. Understood. We've canceled the transfer and reset your login credentials. You'll receive a temporary password via email. We also recommend filing a police report for identity theft. After hanging up, I sat staring at that account number. Someone had my online banking credentials. Someone in Bangkok. Someone who knew enough about my finances to attempt transfers that were large, but not so large as to be obviously fraudulent. I didn't tell Anne immediately. Instead, I did something I'd never done before in our marriage. I checked her computer. She'd left it open on the dining table that morning before leaving for work. I felt sick doing it, violating her privacy. But the alternative, continuing to trust blindly while my accounts were being systematically accessed, seemed worse. I found the file in her documents folder. It was labeled Financial Planning, Household. Inside were spreadsheets tracking my account balances, my U.S. retirement accounts, my Social Security payments, my Thai bank account, detailed records of every asset I owned, including accounts I'd mentioned casually in conversation but hadn't given her specific details about. There were also scanned copies of documents, my passport, my U.S. driver's license, my Social Security card. I'd shown her these once when she was helping me with visa paperwork. I'd assumed she'd just looked at them, not photographed them. And there were notes. Handwritten notes in Thai, which I couldn't read, next to various account numbers and transfer amounts. I photographed everything with my phone. Then I closed her computer and tried to think clearly. I spent the next 3 days thinking about how to handle this. My first instinct was to confront Anne, to demand an explanation, to give her the opportunity to clarify what I'd found. But 43 years in business had taught me something important. Never confront someone until you have evidence they can't explain away. Never show your hand until you know exactly what game is being played. Instead, I called Robert, the contact who'd introduced me to Anne at that networking event over 2 years ago. I explained the situation carefully, clinically, without emotion. Jesus, Stephen, you need to talk to a lawyer, immediately. I know, but I need to understand something first. Did you actually know Anne before that event? Or had you just met her there? There was a pause. I'd just met her there. She seemed professional. I introduced you two because you both looked bored. Why? Because I need to know if this was planned or opportunistic. Stephen, it doesn't matter. What matters is that your wife is accessing your accounts without permission. That's criminal fraud, not a marital dispute. He gave me the name of a lawyer, a British expat who'd practiced criminal law in the UK before retiring to Thailand and now worked as a legal consultant, primarily helping foreigners navigate the Thai legal system. I met with the lawyer, a man named Michael Barnett, the next day at his office in Sathorn. Talk me through everything, he said. Leave nothing out. I spent 2 hours explaining the timeline meeting Anne, the courtship, the marriage, the financial anomalies, what I'd found on her computer. Michael listened without interrupting, taking notes. When I finished, he sat back. You understand that if what you're describing is accurate, your wife has committed multiple serious crimes under Thai law, document falsification, identity theft, attempted fraud? I understand that's possible. I want to know if I'm overreacting. You're not. The question is whether you want to pursue this criminally or just protect your assets and divorce her. I want the truth first. I want to know exactly what she's done and why. Then you need evidence. Real evidence. Not just suspicions and spreadsheets. You need transaction records, forged documents, proof of intent, and you need it before she realizes you're investigating. How do I get that? First, you freeze every asset you can. Change every password, call every bank, lock down everything. Second, you don't confront her. You act normal while documenting everything. Third, you file a formal fraud complaint with Thai police, which creates an official record and triggers their investigation. They have resources you don't. They can subpoena bank records, examine documents for forgery, trace IP addresses. And if I'm wrong, if there's an innocent explanation, then the investigation clears her, and you've protected your assets while finding out the truth. But Stephen, between us men to men, do you actually think there's an innocent explanation? I thought about the spreadsheets, tracking my assets, the scanned identity documents, the attempted $75,000 transfer. No, then act accordingly. I spent the next 2 weeks methodically securing my financial life while maintaining normal appearance with Anne. It was the most difficult performance I'd ever sustained. I called every financial institution and reset every credential. I set up two-factor authentication on everything. I moved the bulk of my retirement funds to new accounts Anne had never known about. I left enough in the old accounts that their balances wouldn't appear dramatically different to casual checking, but not enough that further theft would devastate me. I documented everything. Every time Anne used my computer, I noted it. Every financial conversation we had, I recorded in a detailed journal with dates and times. I photographed her computer files weekly, watching as new notes appeared in her spreadsheets. The hardest part was acting normal, coming home from her office, asking about her day, cooking dinner together, sleeping in the same bed, all while knowing that she was systematically attempting to steal my life savings. She asked once if everything was okay. "You seem distant lately. Are you feeling all right?" "Just tired. I think I'm coming down with something. You should rest more. Don't push yourself." Her concern seemed genuine. That was perhaps the most disturbing part. She could care about my health while simultaneously forging my signature on documents. On day 16 of my investigation, I received a call from my U.S. Bank's fraud department again. Another wire transfer attempt, this time for $82,000. Blocked by their system, but attempted. I had the account number this time. It matched one of the accounts in Anne's spreadsheets. That was enough. With Michael Barnett's guidance, I filed a formal criminal complaint with the Economic Crime Division of the Royal Thai Police. I brought everything: bank statements showing unauthorized transfers, credit reports showing fraudulent loan applications, photographs of Anne's files, logs of suspicious activity. The officer taking my statement was a detective named Captain Som Chai Ratnawong. He spoke excellent English and reviewed my evidence methodically. "Mr. Caldwell, I need to be clear about what you're alleging. You're stating that your wife has committed criminal fraud against you using forged documents and unauthorized access to your accounts?" "Yes." "And you have documentary evidence of this?" I showed him everything: the spreadsheets, the scanned identity documents, the bank records, the attempted transfers. He made notes, asked clarifying questions, examined the documents carefully. "This is very organized," he said finally. "Your evidence, I mean. Most fraud victims come to us emotional, confused, with fragments of suspicion. You've documented this like an investigation. I spent 43 years in business. Documentation is habit. It's helpful. This evidence is sufficient to open a formal investigation. We'll need to examine your wife's banking records, her computer, interview her. She'll need to be informed of the investigation." "When?" "We'll execute a search warrant within the week. Do you have somewhere you can stay that isn't your shared residence?" "I can arrange something." "Good. Because once we execute this warrant, your marriage is effectively over, even if the criminal case doesn't proceed. You understand that?" "I understand." "And you're certain you want to proceed? Sometimes in cases involving spouses, people change their minds when reality becomes concrete." I thought about Margaret, about 37 years of marriage built on trust and honesty, about the life I'd tried to build with Anne, believing she represented the same values. "I'm certain." The Thai police executed their search warrant on Anne's workplace on a Wednesday morning. They informed me afterward that they'd chosen her office rather than our condo to minimize confrontation risk and ensure they could seize her work computer, which they suspected contained additional evidence. I wasn't present. Michael Barnett had strongly advised me to maintain distance from the arrest process. "You're the victim and the complainant. Let the authorities handle the procedural aspects. Your role is to provide evidence, not to participate in law enforcement." Anne called me that afternoon. I was staying at a hotel near Sukhumvit, having moved out of the condo 3 days earlier with a simple note explaining I needed space to think about our marriage. She'd texted several times asking what was wrong, but I hadn't responded with details. "Stephen, what the hell is happening? The police just arrested me at work. They're saying I committed fraud against you. They seized my computer and my phone. What did you tell them?" Her voice was shrill, panicked the first time I'd heard her lose composure. "I told them the truth about the unauthorized transfers, the forged documents, the loan applications in my name." "What are you talking about? I helped you with those transfers. You asked me to handle the bond investments. I never asked you to transfer $75,000 without my knowledge. I never asked you to apply for loans using my social security number. I never asked you to keep detailed spreadsheets tracking my accounts while planning systematic theft." There was silence on the line. "Then, you went through my computer after I noticed my accounts were being accessed without permission, yes. You had no right. I had every right. Those are my accounts, my identity, my financial security you were stealing. I wasn't stealing anything. We're married. What's yours is mine. That's not how marriage works. That's not how law works. And based on what the police found, it's not even your first time doing this." Another silence. "What did they tell you?" "They told me they found evidence of prior complaints. Other men, similar patterns. That's why you were so good at this. You've done it before." I could hear her breathing, rapid and shallow. "Stephen, please, let me explain. It's not what you think." "Then explain it to your lawyer. I'm done listening." I hung up. The Thai police investigation moved faster than I'd expected. Within 2 weeks, they'd assembled a comprehensive case file that included evidence from Anne's computers showing detailed financial tracking of multiple foreign men, including me, scanned identity documents from at least 3 other men she'd had relationships with, bank records showing a pattern of transfers from foreign accounts to multiple Thai accounts in her name and her family members' names. Most damning, forensic analysis of documents I'd signed, showing that several signatures had been forged. The bond investment documents I'd been shown weren't from a legitimate Thai government bond program. They were fabrications created using official-looking templates. The $50,000 I'd thought was invested in bonds had actually been transferred directly to an account controlled by Anne's brother. The attempted $75,000 and $82,000 transfers would have gone to accounts owned by people in Anne's family network. Captain Somchai walked me through the evidence during a meeting at the police station. "Your wife was part of an organized scheme," he explained. "Not a large operation, but sophisticated. She and several family members targeted foreign retirees, specifically older men, financially stable, recently widowed or divorced, men looking for companionship who might be vulnerable to someone who presented as professional and independent." "How many others?" "We've identified 5 definite cases over the past 8 years. Probably more we haven't found yet. Total theft from those 5 cases. Approximately $430,000. And the money? Some recovered, most not. Property purchases, luxury goods, transfers to offshore accounts. The pattern was consistent: build trust over extended time, offer to help with financial matters, gradually gain access to accounts, then execute larger thefts while maintaining the relationship. Why stay in the relationship after stealing? Because if you disappeared immediately after the bond transfer, you'd have noticed and investigated. By maintaining the relationship, answering your questions, showing you fabricated documentation, she kept you confused and compliant while planning the next larger theft. The $75,000 attempt was probably meant to be the final extraction before she created a crisis, maybe a fake family emergency that would explain her sudden distance. I sat with that information, trying to reconcile it with the woman I'd shared meals with, traveled with, believed I was building a life with. The networking event where I met her was where she worked. She attended those events specifically to meet foreign professionals. Rich hunting ground for her purposes. Jesus. I'm sorry, Mr. Caldwell. I know this is difficult. What happens now? We file formal charges: document falsification, criminal fraud, identity theft. Based on the evidence and the pattern involving multiple victims, the prosecutor is confident of conviction. Your wife will likely face prison time. How much time? Given the evidence and the multiple victims, probably 3 to 5 years. Maybe more if the court treats it as organized criminal activity. I attended one court hearing, the preliminary hearing where charges were formally filed and bail was determined. Michael Barnett had advised me I didn't need to attend any hearings. that my role as complainant didn't require presence, but I felt I needed to see her one final time in an official setting. Anne sat at the defendant's table with her attorney, wearing a simple blouse and skirt, her hair pulled back. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. When she saw me enter the courtroom, her expression shifted through several emotions: anger, pleading, resignation. The hearing was conducted in Thai, with English translation provided through headphones. The prosecutor presented the evidence systematically: the forged documents, the unauthorized transfers, the pattern of behavior across multiple victims. Anne's attorney argued that these were misunderstandings within a marriage, that documentation errors could be explained as language barriers and cultural differences. The judge listened impassively. When the prosecutor presented the forensic analysis showing deliberate signature forgery and the evidence of prior victims, the defense attorney's arguments visibly weakened. Bail was denied. Anne would remain in custody pending trial. As she was being led out of the courtroom, she looked directly at me. Her expression wasn't angry or pleading. It was empty, like something had shut down behind her eyes. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication, no sadness, just a vast blankness where my trust had been. The trial took place over 3 days in October 2022. I attended only the final day, when the verdict was delivered. Anne had accepted a plea agreement. In exchange for pleading guilty to multiple counts of fraud and document falsification, and for cooperating with authorities to identify other victims and recover stolen assets, her sentence was reduced from the maximum 7 years to 4 years in prison. Additionally, she was ordered to pay restitution. The court calculated the amount based on verified thefts from all identified victims. My portion of the restitution was calculated at $183,000. The total amount transferred from my accounts, without authorization, plus legal fees and damages. The judge delivered the sentence in Thai, translated through my headphones. The defendant showed calculated deception over extended periods, targeting vulnerable individuals for financial exploitation. While the defendant has shown cooperation with authorities, the systematic nature of these crimes and the multiple victims require substantial prison time to serve both punitive and deterrent purposes. Anne stood motionless as the sentence was read. Her family, her mother, her brother, sat in the gallery crying quietly. I felt a brief flash of sympathy for them, then remembered that her brother had received $50,000 of my money and had participated in the scheme. After the verdict, Michael Barnett met me outside the courtroom. "How do you feel?" "I don't know. Empty, mostly." "That's normal. You're grieving multiple things: the marriage you thought you had, the person you thought she was, the trust you invested. That's complicated grief." "Will I actually recover the restitution?" "Some of it. They've frozen assets in her family's accounts. You'll probably recover $60,000 to $70,000. The rest is gone, spent, or hidden too well to trace. But that partial recovery is better than most fraud victims get." "I know. What will you do now?" I thought about that. Return to Florida? Stay in Thailand? Start over somewhere entirely new? I honestly don't know. I stayed in Thailand. That decision surprised people, including Robert and other expat friends who assumed I'd want to leave after what happened. "Isn't everything here tainted now?" Robert asked over coffee a month after the trial. "Don't you associate Bangkok with Anne and the fraud?" Thailand didn't steal from me. One person did. The city, the culture, the country, none of that was responsible for the fact that I married someone who turned out to be a criminal. Still, fresh starts somewhere else might be easier. I'm 77 years old. I don't have unlimited fresh starts left. I built a life here. I'm not letting one terrible experience destroy that. I moved to a different neighborhood from Phong, closer to central Bangkok. A smaller condo, more expensive at 18,000 baht monthly, but in a building with excellent security and a doorman who actually checked IDs. I furnished it simply again, establishing new routines that didn't include any places or patterns from my marriage to Anne. The restitution came through in stages. First, $62,000 from frozen accounts, then another $18,000 from property Anne's family was forced to sell. Total recovered, $80,000. Less than half what was stolen, but enough to restore my financial security to comfortable levels. I also received a formal letter from the Thai police informing me that my testimony and cooperation had helped them identify 2 additional victims who'd been unaware they could file criminal complaints. Both cases were being pursued. The letter thanked me for my systematic documentation and procedural cooperation. That acknowledgement felt important somehow, not because I needed validation, but because it confirmed that I'd handled this correctly, not with emotion or revenge, but with evidence and proper legal procedure. A year after Anne's conviction, I was having dinner with Michael Barnett. We'd become friendly after the case concluded, occasionally meeting for meals and conversation. "I've been thinking about something," I said, "about why I didn't see what she was doing earlier, about why I trusted her so completely." "That's natural. Everyone who's been defrauded asks themselves that. I spent 43 years in business. I verified everything. Contracts, specifications, delivery schedules. I trusted nothing without documentation. But with Anne, I suspended all that verification. Why? Because business and personal relationships operate on different psychological rules. In business, verification is professional. In marriage, verification feels like distrust. But that's irrational. Marriage involves more important assets and risks than most business relationships. It should require more verification, not less. Should, yes, but doesn't. We want to believe that love and commitment create inherent honesty. That if someone married you, they must have your best interests at heart. That verification would insult the relationship itself. Anne counted on that. Of course she did. She specifically targeted men who'd been in long, honest marriages. Men like you, who associated marriage with trust and partnership. She knew you'd suspend your normal verification instincts because questioning your wife felt like betraying the relationship. I thought about that. I told her I trusted her, multiple times. I made it a point of pride that I wasn't like other suspicious foreigners. And she used that against you. That's what makes relationship fraud so effective. It weaponizes your best qualities, your trust, your desire for partnership, your belief in honest communication. Those aren't weaknesses, Stephen. They're human needs. She just exploited them. So, what's the lesson? Trust no one? Verify everything, even in marriage? The lesson is that trust and verification aren't opposites. Real partnership can include transparency and documentation without destroying intimacy. If someone insists that asking questions means you don't trust them, that's manipulation. If someone gets defensive when you want to understand financial decisions that affect you, that's a red flag. Trust isn't blind faith. It's confidence based on consistent behavior and transparent communication. I wish I'd understood that earlier. Now you do. And you've helped others understand it too. Those other victims you helped identify, they're getting their cases heard because you documented everything and pursued legal action. That matters. In December 2023, I was contacted by an organization called Expat Fraud Prevention Thailand, a volunteer group that educated foreign retirees about common scams and fraud patterns. They'd heard about my case through the criminal justice system and asked if I'd be willing to speak at a seminar for expats. "We bring in victims who successfully prosecuted their cases," the organizer explained, "to show people that legal recourse exists and to teach them warning signs. Would you be comfortable sharing your experience?" I agreed. The seminar was held at a hotel conference room in Sukhumvit, attended by about 50 foreign retirees, mostly men over 60. Many recently arrived in Thailand or considering moving here permanently. I spoke for 30 minutes, walking them through my experience systematically, meeting Anne, the gradual financial integration, the subtle signs I'd missed, the moment I began documenting, the legal process, the outcome. Then, I gave them the warning I wished someone had given me. If someone insists on handling all your paperwork because you don't understand how things work here, that's not help, that's control. If you feel deliberately confused by explanations of your own financial situation, that confusion is designed. If your partner gets defensive when you ask questions about accounts or documents, that defensiveness is a red flag, not a cultural difference. Marriage doesn't eliminate the need for transparency. Partnership doesn't mean surrendering documentation to someone else. And if someone claims that asking to see bank statements or verify signatures means you don't trust them, understand what they're really saying. They're telling you that trust means accepting their word without evidence. That's not trust. That's vulnerability they plan to exploit. I didn't send my wife to jail. Her paperwork did. Her forged signatures, her unauthorized transfers, her systematic documentation of planned theft that evidence sent her to jail. I just refused to look away from it once I found it. The hardest part wasn't discovering the fraud. It was accepting that I needed to treat my marriage like a crime scene and document everything before confronting her. That felt cold, calculated, unloving. But it was the only way to protect myself and ensure she faced consequences. So, here's my advice. Document everything. Keep copies of every signature, every authorization, every financial discussion. Maintain access to your own accounts. Verify that investments actually exist. And if you discover fraud, don't confront immediately, document first, consult a lawyer second, file official complaints third, and only then, maybe, have that conversation. Because love doesn't override law, and ignorance, willful or not, doesn't cancel evidence. The room was silent when I finished. Then an older Australian man in the back raised his hand. How do you trust anyone again after that? I thought about the question honestly. I don't know yet, but I know I'd rather be alone and cautious than partnered and defrauded. That's a lesson I paid $183,000 to learn. I hope sharing it saves some of you from paying the same tuition. I'm still in Bangkok as I write this, now 3 years after Anne's conviction. She was released from prison 6 months ago after serving 3 years of her 4-year sentence early release for good behavior. I know this only because the Thai authorities notified me as a registered victim of her crimes. I have no idea where she is now, and I don't want to know. That chapter is closed. My life has rebuilt itself slowly. I still live in Phrom Phong, still maintain my quiet routines. I've made new friends through the Expat Fraud Prevention Organization, became a regular speaker at their seminars, helped a few other fraud victims navigate the Thai legal system. I don't date, not because I'm bitter or traumatized, but because I genuinely prefer my solitary life now. I've learned something valuable about myself. I was willing to compromise my natural caution for companionship, and that willingness made me vulnerable. I'm not willing to make that compromise again. Robert occasionally tries to set me up with women he knows, professional Thai women, other expat retirees, friends of his wife. I politely decline. You can't let one bad experience ruin relationships forever, he said recently. I'm not ruining anything. I'm choosing differently. There's a distinction. The money I recovered, $80,000 of the $183,000 stolen, went back into my retirement accounts. I'm financially stable again, though not as comfortable as I was before Anne. I'll be fine for the rest of my life if I'm careful, which I intend to be. People ask sometimes if I regret moving to Thailand, if I wish I'd stayed in Florida where I understood the systems and the culture. I don't regret it. What happened with Anne could have happened anywhere. Fraud isn't geography specific. Criminals exist everywhere, and vulnerability exists everywhere. The lesson wasn't about Thailand, it was about verification, documentation, and the difference between trust and blind faith. I learned that lesson the hard way, paid for it with money and heartbreak and 2 years of my life spent in investigation, prosecution, and recovery. But I learned it. And maybe that's worth something. Someone once asked me if I felt guilty about Anne going to prison, if I ever questioned whether I should have just divorced her quietly instead of pursuing criminal charges. I don't feel guilty. I feel clear. I didn't send my wife to jail because I was angry or vengeful. I sent her to jail because she committed multiple crimes against multiple people, and justice required legal consequences, not just personal ones. She didn't steal money from an ex-husband in a divorce dispute. She systematically defrauded multiple men using forged documents and planned deception. That's not a marital problem. That's criminal enterprise. The Thai legal system examined the evidence and agreed. 3 years in prison wasn't my decision, it was the court's conclusion based on documented proof of crimes committed. I sleep fine at night. Because I know the difference between love and law, between trust and evidence, between partnership and exploitation. And I know that documentation, cold, systematic, detailed documentation, is sometimes the only thing standing between you and complete financial destruction. That's not cynicism, that's reality. And reality, I've learned, doesn't care about your feelings. It only cares about what you can prove.